Hello everybody, this is Reverend Kyle here at Holy Cross with another Friday spiritual practice video. Today we are going to talk about the discipline of retreat. Are you getting tired? Are you getting tired of this? I know I am, right? This kind of the physical distancing, the social isolation, not being able to be with family or friends, and the hoops that we have to go through all the time. In terms of even grocery shopping, only one person from a family can go in, and all the constant ways that life has just completely changed. Are you tired of it? Even physically, right? Physically, sometimes my back hurts from sitting at my desk for the entire day, and my eyes hurt from mediating every conversation through a computer screen. And my head hurts from constantly having to think about how do we connect with people in a different way. And do you echo these statements? It's tiresome. If so, wouldn't it be great just to retreat from it all? Just to get away? And in fact, that might be exactly what we need. A retreat. Now, this suggestion might seem a little comical at first. What do you mean retreat? How do we go on a retreat when we can't go anywhere? Right? How do I go on a retreat if I can't leave the house? But if we think about the life that we're living right now, could it be that it is precisely in a time where everything seems so frenzied and so harried and so frenetic and chaotic, where emotions can be so easily frayed and anxieties are high, and tensions might be getting, or tempers might be getting a little bit shorter with every passing week? Could it be that this is exactly the time when we need to have a spiritual retreat? Now, if we're going to observe a spiritual retreat in our lives, we need to recognize that this call to a retreat, or this discipline of a retreat, is something different than what we may popularly associate with retreat taking today. After all, retreats can be big business. It's an industry all in itself today. And just like other videos where we've said, that there's a nuance that we need to recognize, there's a nuance here. And I hope that you actually realize when we're talking about spiritual disciplines, often there is some intricacies that we really need to recognize, which differentiates kind of the way that we talk about retreat, or the way we talk about meditation, or even prayer or solitude and all that, and the way that might be talked about in other spheres. The same thing is here. Because if we base our understanding of a retreat on the popular expressions of retreat taking, then we're probably going to go down the wrong paths in some sense. We're going to have a misunderstanding. For example, observing retreat is not the same thing as going on a retreat, right? Too often we speak about retreats as a place to which we go, right? So going on a retreat means we're going to a retreat center, or I'm going to be spending time in a cabin, or a lodge, or a cottage by the lake, or some resort, or something like that. Retreat kind of becomes a way to describe a destination. And that's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about going to a destination. Similarly, we can mistakenly associate retreat with a predetermined program. So it's a program with an itinerary. So you can think about going on a writer's retreat, or a knitting retreat, or a yoga retreat, or a corporate retreat. If there was ever an oxymoron, that was probably it, right? So retreat here is defined by a type of program, a type of activity that you will do, and often, particularly in corporate retreats, the results that you want to get out of it. And so while there might be personal time allocated in these lovely resorts and cabins and all that kind of stuff, often the itinerary of these retreats can be quite extensive, right? So that the time that you spend on retreat is as active or as busy as the normal routines of the house. And again, not what we're talking about. But sadly, we can sometimes adopt this within the Christian attitude. Spiritual or faith-based retreats can sometimes be filled with structures of activity, whether that be prayer and study and learning and lectures and group work and all this kind of stuff. There might be all the stuff that you do that at the end of the retreat, you feel a little bit more tired than when you entered into it. I had the blessing of leading a retreat for somebody who was about to be ordained as a priest. And we left the lunch table one day and during this retreat, and so I invited him into a time of self-direction and said, you can go for a walk, you can have a nap, you can read your Bible, you can play music, you can do whatever you want to do. But then I invited him, whatever you decide to do or whatever you feel led to do it with the Lord. And he had this quizzical look on his face, and he said, really? And then he asked, shouldn't we be doing something? And I said to him, we are. It's called retreating. Retreat is not a noun. Okay, that is to say, it's not a place you go, or it's not a program that you adopt. Retreat is a verb. It describes an activity that we engage in out of a desire to connect more deeply with Jesus. Adele Calhoun defines retreat as a move away from the daily battle into times of refreshing, retooling, and renewal. A move away from the daily battle into a time of refreshing. And of course, we do need to nuance this, right? On one hand, retreat is not a program of activity. Insofar, it's not about learning a new skill or learning new information or performing certain tasks. The discipline of retreat is aimed at intimacy with God, mediated through this intentional time of stepping away, of withdrawal, of moving to a different place. That being said, as much as it is defined by the stepping away of, or the stopping of regular routine, it is an activity of the will. It is something that you do, right? To refer back to my friend, retreat does amount to doing something. But like all spiritual disciplines, what matters more is what we do internally rather than what we do externally. And so that brings us to the salient question. If retreat involves a withdrawing from the daily schedules and routines and the constant barrage of sensory inputs in order to step into the time and space of God, then how do we go about doing this when we can't leave the house? Even if we weren't into a time of physical isolation, not everybody has the ability to physically get away. Not everybody can go to a resort or to a cabin or to a lodge. Parents with young children, people working multiple jobs, students with no income. Is the discipline of retreat just closed to them? This is why it's important to recognize that the spiritual discipline of retreat is more an internal activity of the soul in its longing to connect with Jesus, rather than this external place or program. And when we recognize this, we open ourselves to the possibility of engaging in the discipline of retreat right at home. And so I want to give you four different hints as to how do we observe a retreat at home. Number 1, pray. Retreat as a spiritual discipline is about connecting with Jesus. That's what it is. Prayer is an indispensable part of that. So if you're going to observe a retreat in any sort of way at home, commit your time. Commit the time to the Lord in prayer. Invite Jesus to direct your time together. And try to go through your time of retreat with this attitude of wishing to connect with Christ's Spirit and listen to his voice. So, prayer is an indispensable part if you are going to do the discipline of retreat. Number 2, unplug. Turn off the television. Turn off the television, turn off the computer. You may want to turn off the radio if you want. In retreat, we're trying to quiet everything down so that we can focus on Christ's presence more intentionally. Frankly, it can be hard to listen to God's voice when the TV is blaring in the background or when you're sitting in front of your computer screen. Unplugging allows us to concentrate on our time with God. And there might be some unsettlement that happens from there. All of a sudden, we're kind of struck by the silence or the stillness of everything. But that's a good thing. And once you kind of press past that, you can actually find this deep place of connection with God. So, pray. Unplug. Number 3, don't plan too much. Don't plan too much. We spend a lot of time during our regular lives managing our schedules or moving from task to task or allocating future timetables. Don't do that in retreat. Now, you might have an overall arc to the retreat. I'm going to begin in prayer at this time. This is when meals are going to be. I'm going to end with prayer at this time. But trying to schedule the retreat will destroy the centrality of entering into this time and space of God. So resist the temptation to overly structure things. I'm going to, even holy things, I'm going to read the Bible from this time to this time, and then I'm going to pray, then I'm going to meditate, then I'm going to go on a prayer walk, and then I'm going to eat for 20 minutes, and then I'm going to sit in silence for 40. That's not going to be beneficial to your retreat. Jesus is the director of your retreat, not you. And so enter the retreat as the Spirit calls you. And so you might find that there's a lot of stuff that you can do in a retreat. You might find that you're going to read your Bible, or you might go have a nap, or you're going to go for a walk, or sit in silence, or enjoy a lovely pot of tea, or paint, or play music, or whatever it is. But do that in response to how the Spirit is working in you, not as an itinerary that you have planned out on a piece of paper. Number 4, involve others. Involve others. Retreat, like most disciplines, are really designed to be done communally. But even if you are engaging in a solitary retreat at home, make sure you tell those you are close to, particularly if they're in your own house. Involving other people will mean that you will have the support needed in order to go into this time of retreat. So if you have a spouse or a partner, get them to help guard your time. Ask them to help you ensure a quiet and peaceful environment. Have them prepare the meals so that you don't have to worry about it. Ask them to run interference if somebody comes to the door or if your phone starts ringing. Ask for help. Ask for support. Ask for assistance. Because when you do that, that frees you for being able to intentionally connect with God in this time of retreat. So, those 4 hints again: pray, unplug, don't plan too much, and involve others. I think we can all benefit from engaging in the discipline of retreat from time to time. I believe it was Richard Foster who advocated that we should all observe a retreat for 1 hour per week, 1 day per month, and 1 week per year. Now, again, going away for 1 whole week, that might unduly favor the affluent or the retired, and that might not be workable for people. But with the support of the Christian community, I think we can all benefit from experimenting with this discipline of retreat in our own lives and in our own homes in some capacity. So what might that look like for you? How might you enjoy a retreat for 1 hour this week? If you do try this, remember that retreat is measured only by your intimacy with Jesus. Closeness with Jesus. That's the aim, that's the focus, and ultimately, that is the benefit of all retreats. So there you have it. If you try a retreat, please let me know. Drop me a comment. Let me know how you engage in retreats, how you've experienced retreats, what you've gotten out of retreats and out of the spiritual discipline. I'd love to hear from you more. God bless you as you continue to live out your faith in joy and intentionality. Bye-bye.